All right, guys, don't forget to follow me on Twitter at the writer Wesley, and feel free to share whatever thoughts you have about anything that I post. If you have any comments about how the podcast is going, about structural issues or anything that I could improve on, I'd definitely like to hear it. Don't know if I'll adopt it, but I do love the criticism. So, all right, I appreciate it, and let's go ahead and get started with today's episode. All right, everybody. Hello. Welcome back to Wesley the Writer. I'm Wesley, and today we're going to go through, we're going to talk about, I should say, my book, South. Or, see, that's the problem. I'm so terrible about talking about what I'm interested in or what I'm doing. I'm always interested in listening or at least talking about like how I can help other people, but I suck. I suck at talking about my thing. But anyway, okay. Ranting aside, today we're going to discuss my book series South, starting with the first book, The Pinewood High School Incident. Um, this is a book that I started a long time ago, and it started out as a short film that I was writing, or like a short web series, which I had called The Creek. And I had posted a snippet of The Creek as as a title card or a title kind of motion title thing on Facebook. Uh, since then, I have been kicked off of Facebook. I don't know why. I won't get into the reasons what I think or the reasons why I think that happened. But since then, I have been trying to continue the idea of that and try to find a way to actually put it out because at the time I wasn't able to actually shoot it, although I really wanted to. But anyway, I've grown it a lot since then, especially as its own series. And so now South encompasses a lot of the ideas and things that I had really wanted to share in that short series, just in book format. And a lot of the other short stories and stuff that I had written around that kind of just culminated into what I have now. So anyway, we'll be talking about the book today, and pretty much for I guess the I want to say the remainder of the week. I don't know how long the discussion is going to go, but just if you're interested in listening to me talk about the book, well, here we go. So with that said, let's get into it. So like I said, the book series South kind of is a play on words. South because everything that goes on in the book series is dealing with the degradation of a society. And also, it's South because it's taking place in the South, Southern Virginia to be exact. And yes, okay, it's set in a fantasy version of Seven Cities. If you know, you know. Um, but the overall theme of the book rests on how men become monsters. And not to sound like Dr. Peterson right now, but I've been researching a lot about how mental illness and how situations that occur in a person's life ultimately affect how that person develops over time and what they become as a consequence to their surroundings. I feel like in saying that, um, a lot of people would kind of want to zone out from there because it's a lot. It's like, and that's what really got me to want to talk about it or at least write about it was the fact that there are so many things that we can get ourselves into in life that would cause us to become something that we don't recognize when we look in the mirror. And a lot of it just it's circumstantial. It happens because other things might occur in our life. But also, I wanted to add in a bit of hope or a bit of optimism in the midst of all of that in the form of the faith. Being a Christian, being a believer, I've been witness to a lot of what society has to offer. And what society offers is in abundance. There's just so much of everything, and over the last couple of years, I'd say about focusing on my studies, there are two camps that you can find yourself in when dealing with society. And that is either being a consumer or being a producer. And as a consumer, or rather, I'm going to start with the producer part. As a producer, you can look from the outside in when it comes to someone's life. You can track how a person's habits can shape or mold society just based off of what they buy on a daily basis, what they do with their time on a daily basis. And just looking at it from that angle allows a person to decide for themselves whether or not they want to go a certain route or take a detour, or to just completely avoid the road altogether. And it's helpful. I think when I think about the mindset of a producer, I'm taken back to my childhood where we were given an option to go one way or the other. And just thinking about how life could have been had I had made choices that would be opposite to what I've been doing now, I could easily find myself doing something that I probably shouldn't do, or probably shouldn't have done, you know just by feeding into the mindset of, or feeding into that heavy consumer mindset at the onset. And I know a lot of people don't have the options to do that, or to have those options to decide. And it makes me sound super privileged, of which I can say that I am. But that's not from a financial standpoint. I was privileged from a mental standpoint. Um, I won't really get that deep into my own personal life, but we did not have the best start, but we did have a better start than most, I would say. And a lot of that had to do with my mother's determination and my grandparents' willingness to help her raise us through some darker times, and also my father's determination to do better with himself as well. And throughout the course of my life, I've been witness to so many different changes in a person's mindset, in a person's lifestyle, that I was able to understand what the mindset of a producer could produce. I guess this, to put it in better, for lack of better terms. Um, I've been able to see how a person can make choices that could ultimately lead to death. In the Bible, that's where the main one of the main lessons is that um, the wages of sin is death, and that if we continue on the path to sin, of what Dr. Peterson would say, falling short of the mark, well, then we have no one else to blame, and we become something that is completely opposite from what God wants for our lives. And what God wants for us is to prosper. So, in that prosperity is where I have been resting now. I have been blessed over these last few years with so much, like I had mentioned before, with my children and my wife. I've been blessed with our church and being a leader in the church. I've been blessed with just financially having a stable job and being able to have a bit of time to do stuff like this. And because of that, because of all of those factors, all of those decisions, I've been able to mold myself into the man that can be a producer as opposed to a man that is just a consumer. Now, from the consumer side of this whole equation, we're talking about just that: consuming, eating, um, partaking, you know. And I have a lot to say about that. This will probably spill over into another episode, but in order to not linger so much here, I will say that if we're going to be consumers, we have to have a source that allows us to consume. If we don't have a source that is helping to fuel our consumption, we'll consume ourselves. And just thinking about that, about how not being grounded in something, in some form of belief or some form of guidance, how reckless we can become, that's where the book rests. It rests on the part where if we don't have something in us, if we're not focused on achieving something, it doesn't have to be grand, it doesn't have to be so monumental, and we don't have to change the world, but if we're not focused on something that would ground us in our reality to allow us to become some form of a producer, some form of anchor, or to have some form of anchor, we'll drift along until we just get swallowed by the abyss. We'll become something unrecognizable, something empty, and we'll always need to feed. And so, with that said, I feel like, I'll continue the part of the consumer because it plays so much into the theme of the book. Um, we have to understand that we cause the most damage to the people who love us whenever we're so focused on me, my, I want this, I want that, give me more, that the people who witness us from the outside in only see a monster in their way, or just basically they only see a monster on the approach trying to devour them. And so I think that the balance between consumer and producer is what rests heavy with the theme of the book. And I really just can't wait to have my work speak for itself, which is why I've been so eager to just kind of hurry up and get this stuff done. To be honest, yeah, that's really where my whole headspace has been at. I've just been like, look, man, I really got to get this book out because it's eating me alive. To be honest, I'm turning into a monster, like a weird little book monster. And I'm really trying to get free of that, you know? And so that's why I feel like just producing the thing is going to alleviate the issue of the thing consuming me. So anyway, with that said, we'll continue the discussion. But in conclusion for this episode, just be on the lookout for the book. It's coming out on Friday, the first chapter, and I pray that you'll see what I'm talking about. Even with the first chapter, there's a little bit of a hint as to what some of the characters have done in their past, and their past as a whole, how it's shaping their future. And so, I don't know, I guess as a focal point, I would like for those who are reading to kind of just take a look at the characters the characters that's presented, and see if you can comment on that episode's or that first chapter's comment section what you're really thinking about the characters, where you think they're headed to. But we'll have a conversation about that at a later time too. Okay. I'll catch you guys on the next one. I really appreciate you listening to the podcast, and yeah, be safe, and I'll see you guys later. Peace. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. I'm definitely going to continue on with this format and to work on my consistency along the way. So don't be afraid to share your thoughts about how things are going. And okay, I'll catch you all in the next episode. Thank you so much.